Hello,
Hey,
hello, hello.
good day, and welcome to HealthierLife.tv. It's great to be here. My name's Paul Bursey. My
And I'm Warren Connolly.
Yeah, beat me to the punch there. Today's little chat that we're going to have, basically, is the power of solitude. Why being alone is important. What basic solitude? Well, and we'll all have our own sort of version of it, but basically, what it says in the dictionary is solitude is a state or situation of being alone. Okay. Now, again, when you talk about the word alone, it brings a lot of different connotations. But what words come to mind when you think about solitude? Warren.
Forest, peace.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Top of a
that's
mountain.
top of a mountain. Really, when I think of solitude, that's what I think of. Forest, peace. Like you said, top of a mountain. Somewhere where people are not going to reach me.
Yeah, it's funny because I was thinking about this the other day, and there's obviously lots of words that go with it. But the word loner came to mind.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
yeah, and that's not necessarily what I'm talking about, because we're not talking about necessarily about introverts and extroverts. But having said that, during my research, I did come across. Let me just look at it, just to make sure. The Extrovert's Guide to Being Alone. So, I didn't read it. Okay. And also, I mean, I think I probably mentioned before, I'm not necessarily a great one for being alone. Okay, but I do like solitude.
hmm
I look at those separately. I
Very
don't know.
much so. Very much so.
Solitude to me is I never used to take it not seriously, but I never used to think about it. And now it's a major part of my day. And it's not because I'm on my own, because you can have solitude within a building with someone else there,
hmm
as long as they're not distracting you, of course.
But also
So
solitude is kind of the place where you want to meditate in that time, or you want to focus on something but on your own exclusively,
yeah,
and you need that space by yourself, that solitude, to be able to do that without the distractions and all these kind of things.
yeah,
So that's
that,
also what
that, that,
solitude can
that-
be.
yeah. That's how I look at it. I mean, so some more words that came up when I was doing my research were loneliness.
hmm
Obviously, goes with loner. Wild, in the wild. Now that's an
Yeah.
exciting one. As your what you said about forest, what I said about the mountain. It's in the wild, in the remoteness, isolation, seclusion.
This is what a lot of authors do. A lot of
Yeah,
writers,
yeah,
what they do is they go
yeah,
to a cabin, an isolated, secluded cabin in the woods somewhere, or something like that, or on a beach where there's no one else around, and then they write, and they write for 3 months sometimes,
yeah,
and
yeah,
just in total isolation and seclusion. And then the only time they see people is if they go to the shops to buy things, and then they come back and carry on.
yeah. I must admit, I like. Don't get me wrong. I used to. We used to. Well, when I was with a girlfriend, we had a place in France, and being as I was working lots of hours as a police officer, we'd go away for maybe 6, 7 weeks a year.
hmm
This was probably from about 2004 till 2012. So we'd go away loads of times a year just for the quietness, and it was great. I mean, because I mean, for those years, I was doing lots of writing. What a fantastic place to write.
Oh,
As I said, it was weird because this little village had this hamlet had 13 houses. You never see anyone.
oh,
It had 4 entrances into it, all with roads or tracks. And the only reason you came into the village was to visit someone.
okay.
On one occasion, over many years, we had two British cars came in. And I went, keep going. I'm here to mix with the French. Go away. You know. And yeah, it was fantastic. And as I say, if you look, you could see the road, probably about 200 yards away, mate, maybe. And if you saw more than 2 cars in an hour, it was rush hour. So, but I loved it. I mean, it was great. I mean, so it was fantastic. I loved it.
I worked in a hamlet in England, in Buckinghamshire.
All right.
And sometimes I used to think to myself, shame the poor people that live in the hamlet, because I worked in a conference center. So it was a huge, big conference center, old manor house with massive gardens and landscaping and all that. But then we'd also have like weddings and things like this. So it would be big, rambunctious parties going on. Yeah, and it was a conference center for companies like Deloitte and Touche and KWV. Not KWV.
Deloitte, are they accountants?
Yes. So a lot of the accounting firms used to come and have conferences there with us, and accountants are big drinkers. They are huge drinkers. So there would be huge parties, and I used to often think, I wonder if the people in the hamlet can actually hear what's going on here, because if they could, it would be so disturbing, because the hamlet was so peaceful and just, the hamlet is Latimer. Latimer is the name of the hamlet.
Mm-hmm.
It was so peaceful.
It's weird, isn't it? Because a lot of accountants, they spend most of their time in solitude. So it's like police officers. You spend all this time working, and when you go to a place like that, you just go wild.
Well, I used to run a bar back at home. Okay, I used to run a bar, and most of the patrons were accountants. My oldest brother is an accountant, and all his mates and other people, like other they just all mostly happened to be accountants, and they would come and spend hours in the bar, drinking and socializing and talking. And you can't really talk about accounting, can you? So they're going to be talking about all kinds of other stuff.
Everything else. Well, personally, I've got to say, I love human interaction, whether it's face to face, go and have a coffee, going for a drink, go for a meal. I love doing it on social media as well, and whether it's Facebook, whether it's WhatsApp or something like that, Zoom. But I also like making lots of phone calls as well. So I'm cool with that. But there's nothing like solitude. It's absolutely not. Now, my solitude can be literally 3 minutes or 5 minutes or 30 minutes. Or if you go up at the top of a mountain or something like that, it could be hours. Most of it's short though, for me.
You're gonna have a good laugh at this one, a good chuckle, I'm sure. I have one place in our home where I find absolute solitude, and that's after 10 o'clock at night in the toilet.
Yeah, well, I'm the same. I
just switch the light off, and I sit in the toilet and I can meditate. I sit there and just meditate. That could be for 5 minutes, could be for 10 minutes, and I just sit in absolute silence. There's no electricity, no noise, no sound, and nothing. No ticking of a clock or anything like that. So yeah, I love those moments. And as you say, it could be 3 minutes, but just those 3 minutes just does so much for your brain, just to and your soul to replenish. Really does.
I was really glad you said there was no sound. Right. Anyway. But think about this. I mean, you would do solitude for your own reasons, but reading, that's a big one for me. I go on the loo to read. Don't ask me. I couldn't explain it if I wanted to. Studying, training. If I'm doing some training for my business, I will want solitude, and I would put a timer on it and things like that. Exercising is another one. Now, I know you can do exercising with other people. I know that. But exercising for me is done on my own. I want this time for me, Meditation, again, the same. Journaling. Not currently journaling at the moment, but I have done over the years. If I'm doing gratitude, again, that's maybe just 3 minutes just to think about all the things you're grateful for. Thinking time. You could be trying to get some creative ideas. Praying.
Well, okay. Many people pray in groups together, as we know that.
Yeah.
But I want to touch on the gratitude part and the journaling. Okay. I do a lot of gratitude. I write down what things I'm grateful for as part of my journaling. But I think one of the greatest things, one of the most wonderful things about solitude, and this reminded me of it when you mentioned about the journaling and gratitude, is being able to reconnect with yourself when you're in solitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, you
Hmm.
do. And if you're journaling or writing stuff down or writing things that you're grateful for, just thinking about the things that you're grateful for, you really start to emotionalize that and really feel it inside of you. You're not just picking up a card and going, "I am grateful." No, you're really getting grips with that. And this can only really happen in solitude, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's the same for me with writing. I found that by being on my own and doing it, it was more punchy. It was more real.
Okay.
Rather
Okay.
than being like a canned response, it was just,
Yeah.
well, I just found it so refreshing, you know. And it did. It went off. You go off at tangents. It's great. so, so why solitude? Is it a good thing?
I think anybody listening to this thus far would say yes. It's based on our conversation. It is a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. Um, it's an essential compound part of health and wellness and
Hmm.
well-being.
Hmm.
Um, it's the bit I was reading. I've written it down here. In fact, building more solitude into your daily life might actually reduce your feelings of loneliness. Now that was a strange thing.
It's a
When you
dichotomy,
think,
that isn't it?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. And so we're not talking about being extrovert. We're not talking about being introvert. We're talking about spending a little bit of time, or as much time as you want, of course, um,
Alone.
just growing.
Hmm.
I look at it as growing. It's personal development,
Well,
and
this is also where many people don't realize that there's a difference between being alone and being lonely.
yeah,
Yeah. Like
yeah,
you and I have had discussions in the last few days, and you're living on your own right now, and with the lockdown in the UK and everything going on, it can become lonely. And
yeah,
that's a big difference between being alone,
yeah,
and solitude is about being alone. It's
yeah.
respecting yourself.
Yeah, I think if you seek it, because we're all different, aren't we? We're all different animals. We all want different things, but there are some core things that can help us all.
Hmm.
Now, your description or the way you deal with that is up to you. If for people, um, but what would you say it does to a person though?
But being
Generally,
solitude.
yeah, yeah,
Uh, in all honesty, I think it helps a person to become grounded and more centered and stabilized in themselves and in their life.
hmm,
It's, as you touched on just now, it helps people to really ignite creative thinking. Ideas come to you.
yeah,
I get this a lot when I'm training, because when I train in solitude. Even if there's
yeah,
other people around me, I completely ignore them. I don't even interact with them and engage with them in any way.
yeah,
I'm in my own zone at that space and that moment, and this is and I'm in the middle of the throes of training. I'm getting ideas and creative thoughts coming to me and stuff like that, and that's a result of being in solitude. So, and it also it refreshes. Not only does it refresh the body, it refreshes the mind, it refreshes your spirit, your soul, everything about you just refreshes it. It reinvigorates you, because if you spend some solitude by yourself initially, it can be taxing on you because you're not used to it, and
yeah,
you're not sure what this should feel like and what the experience should be like. And when you start to practice solitude by yourself on a regular basis, for example, taking a walk on the beach or going for a walk in the forest, a hike in the forest on your own, it becomes just an amazing experience. It really does.
yeah. I mean, it didn't hurt some people, did it? I mean, it did. I mean, being a hermit, and that it didn't hurt Obi-Wan Kenobi until Luke Skywalker, CP3O, and R2D2 found him.
Yeah, then it,
You
yeah.
know, but
and it messed it all up for him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And then he gets killed. So yeah, no, he probably should have stayed a hermit. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, look, there's the thing is with solitude, there is a difference to that and loneliness. Loneliness, if it's in force, sometimes can be classed as negative. I know
Yes.
it's not exactly going to be like that, but whereas solitude, if used correctly, whatever that means, is seen as positive.
Hmm.
So we know that there could be negative and positive on both of those, but generally speaking, it seems to be a good thing. So
Look at it. You can take it from this perspective as well, and I can't think of any in particular in mind right now, but I've heard many stories where incarcerated, guys that have been incarcerated, and then they go into solitude for extended periods of times.
yeah,
Some prisons around the world, guys are in solitude for months, in absolute solitude, and that's literally changed. Most of them will break and they will crumble.
mm-hmm.
Okay, but for some of them, I remember I've heard stories and I've read stories before about where guys have been in solitude and isolation in prisons, in the prison systems, and they've literally come out as powerful individuals that have literally transformed their whole lives as a result of being in solitude,
Yeah,
which they would never have found anywhere else. But because they were in solitude, okay, and in prison it's different because you're not only you're in solitude, but you're in darkness most of the time. You don't have anything with you, and they've literally had to dig deep within themselves to find out who they truly are to survive. There's many people that, what's his name, the American senator or politician that John McCain.
John McCain, who died.
McCain, yeah, he was
McCain, yeah,
McCain, yeah, he was a prisoner of war in the Vietnam War,
yeah,
and he was in the same situation in solitude and that, and I mean, whether you like him or not, that's different, but he became a politician as a result, of what he went through. It gave him the power, the strength to survive that and get out of that, and then be able to, lift himself up when he did. So yeah.
It's the same as that one I did on at some stage. I did on one of these calls when it was the man that learnt to play golf. He did the perfect round of golf every day when he was in a Japanese POW camp.
Oh
And I
wow!
think it's about 7. Oh, was it Vietnamese? I can't remember now. But anyway, he did it for about 7 years, and then his first, because he used to he actually was picturing building the perfect golf course and then doing the perfect round of golf.
Wow!
And the first game he had when he got back, he did a score that was better than anything he'd ever done before.
Or anybody else had probably ever done before.
Well, I don't know about that. I think, I don't know how many under par or whatever it was, but I mean, it was an excellent round of golf. So he prepared his mind without the physical action.
Now, this is also something that is very pertinent to something that I've experienced myself, and reading a story recently about somebody else experiencing it, where you're in that solitude often enough that you can create a picture in your mind to the point where you can smell things.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can feel things in your mind. So you could literally feel and experience and smell stuff, taste things just purely through your imagination. And you can only do that in solitude. You can't do that in a busy place, because you will be too distracted from that.
Yeah.
And you can create some amazing scenarios in your head which can become reality if it's created enough. So yeah.
It's funny about solitude. Solitude can be one of the most uplifting things that you can do. However, obviously, when you're doing research on things, you find other things as well. And this is it's been found that you have a 20% risk of developing dementia if you're suffering from loneliness. So it can. I think it all depends on how you view life and how you view things. And if you're a positive type of person, then you'll probably veer towards the positive side. However, if if it really starts to affect you badly,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got to say that I've been lonely during this lockdown. It doesn't last long. I mean, to be fair, it may last, I don't know, half an hour on a particular day.
What you mean? The feeling of loneliness?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But I mean, if you take the average citizen that is lonely, feeling lonely at the moment, who are they? The elderly folk, senior citizens. You're a healthy man. At your age, you're a healthy man. You're a vibrant. You're cognizantly speaking. You're aware. You're conscious. You're diverse. You're learning. You're growing all the time. But the average individual, they're not.
Yeah.
And this loneliness can be really taxing on them. This can be. And we've seen it happen. We've seen the statistics, right?
Yeah.
The statistics have shown that people have died as a result of being alone by themselves for so extended periods of time.
As I said before, again on one of these calls, this too shall pass, and your loneliness will pass. You don't suffer from it all the time. It comes and goes. It doesn't come. No, to be fair, it doesn't come very often, but it is really noticeable when it comes. So I just do something else. I just change it up. Go and have a bath. Go and have a walk. Go and have a run.
Take a Viva.
Yeah, take it. But there's lots of there's lots of things that you can do. So just for those that don't know, Vivas are the supplement that we use. So it's good for mood enhancing. So
natural mood enhancing.
Natural as well, yeah,
100% natural.
Yeah, rather than the other stuff that's a little bit unnatural.
So I actually heard a story about somebody who had taken Viva once before, and it was almost like an acid trip for her.
Well, if you're not used to taking anything, I mean,
she suffered depression for so long.
Yeah,
for more than 30 years, and she took 2 Viva tablets, and within 2 hours she was like experiencing an acid trip of reality for the first time in 30 years. So
you say, I mean, on a similar note, a similar type of thing. I may have said this before as well, and I apologise if I have. But I'm not a depressionist type of person, but when my wife and I split up in 2001, 2002, around about the time. Basically, I had this, I felt a little bit depressed. So I went to the doctor, and they gave me these tablets. I've got to say, I only took them for a week, all right, because I didn't want them after that. But I started taking them, and they said, look, it would take about 24 hours to kick in. It took me 45 minutes. Because I don't take anything.
Yeah.
So it's 45 minutes, and even my daughter said to me, "What are you on?" So my eyes were. So things can affect people in different ways as we do. But right, we're doing pretty well for time here. It's only been 24 minutes nearly. So how do you accept a life of solitude? How do you take it in? What do you do? What's the easiest way to deal with it?
That's you hit the keyword on the noggin there. It's accept. If you either choose to live a life of solitude or you choose not to, and even if you're forced into a life of solitude, you choose whether you want to remain in that situation or not. And that could literally just be in the presence of your own consciousness, subconsciousness, your own creativity and imagination, and that. But for people that are in solitude or in isolation, for choice of a better word, I'd say isolation is probably the better choice of a word right now. But solitude is, I don't want to create a negative connotation towards that word. But if you're in isolation, it's accepting the fact that you are in isolation. And as you touched on, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
And there are a lot more dramatic and serious parts of life than being in isolation. There's a lot more serious things. I look back at the things that when, like now, like right now with us here in Hungary, I don't have a lot of friends here personally in Hungary. I have very
Yeah.
few friends, and I don't see them very often at all. Okay, because they're busy, they're family men, and they have their own lives, and so do I. So I don't get to see friends very often here. And in that respect, I am in isolation. I'm with my family, obviously, but from a man to man point of view, it can get lonely when you're living in
Yeah.
a country like Hungary and that. But I accept that, and I get on with it, and I deal with it, and I just move forward with that. I don't. But there are so many greater tragedies and
Oh, absolutely.
things
Yeah. And
things to focus on than your own isolation. Honestly,
yeah.
and
So,
there's so many
so,
better
oh,
so
sorry.
many better things in retrospect. There's so many better things to focus on as well.
Yeah.
If you're in isolation, use that time to grow yourself. Use that time to learn a new language, perhaps, or meet new people online, something like that. Anything to keep you engaged somehow with something, rather than just sitting and yeah,
Go and talk to the goats.
yeah, perfect.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, what I'm saying, if you're out in the wild, or then have a bit of fun with it. I mean, look, it's your choice what you do with your life, and it's your choice what you do whilst you're in solitude.
Hmm.
Make sure it's things that you really it's fun to do for you, and they're interesting. I mean, in fact, you could, in theory, some of the time, plan what you're going to do. But I think the key here is to mix it up. That's what I tend to do in my day. I mix things up, so I'm doing plenty of different things rather than just be doing one thing all the time.
But
Keep
try,
mixing
but
out.
also try to have some kind of routine and rhythm as well in the
Yeah,
same breath.
yeah,
But don't become too dogmatic about it either. Like you say, you like to mix things up, but have a routine, because having a routine will create discipline and order in your life, where you know that you have an expectation. You've made a promise to yourself to do this X, Y, Z, and
yeah.
and uphold that promise to yourself. So that you have some level of accountability to yourself, at least, if anything, and that's going to give you some purpose to get up in the morning.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the keys is to let it. What I wrote down earlier is let it flow.
Let it flow.
Let it
Yeah.
flow. Enjoy the journey.
Let it flow.
No,
Let it flow.
I thought it was let it snow.
Just let it snow.
Oh, right.
I used to
Right.
sing that to our daughter sometimes. I used to say, "Let it flow, let it flow." And she goes, "No, Dad, it's not flow, it's snow."
Is that something to do with Frozen?
Yeah, it's frozen.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
I've not seen it. I'm just guessing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
You
that's
ever,
just a guess.
you should
I've
watch
not
it.
seen it. No, I haven't
It's a
seen it.
lovely movie, man. It really is. It's a nice movie. It's very
I'll
comical. And even for adults. Seriously, you
have
should
to
watch
sit.
it.
I'll have to sit there with my great grandchildren and watch
And
it.
aha, this is another thing, folks. For anybody that is watching this now, and just as a good reminder, if you are in isolation, okay, right now, and you are forced to be by yourself for whatever reason, watch comedy. Stay away from the
Oh
news.
yeah, that's right.
Stay
Yeah,
away from media.
yeah.
By all accounts, stay away from it completely. You don't need to watch the media, and enjoy comedy series, comedy movies, anything related to comedy. Watch. Just do that. That will lift your soul and your spirits up like you won't believe.
And
Is this
if you're in the USA, don't watch the election.
no, it's going on too long now in any case.
I've
Oh
got nothing.
man.
I've got nothing to say about that. Right.
Oh man.
Okay. Just before we end up, I wrote down 3 quotes, and I just thought these were very good. So, if you're lonely when you're alone, you're in the bad company,
Ooh.
and that was John Paul Sartre. Second one was, in order to understand the world, one has to turn away from it on occasions.
Yes. That's
And
very
that's
powerful.
Albert Camus, whoever that is. I
Yeah.
don't know him. And the
I don't know
last
either
one,
of those two.
what, John Paul Sartre? Oh, dear me. Ooh.
Who's John Paul Sartre?
He's don't know. He done loads of stuff. I read loads of his stuff, but I really should find out a bit about him, shouldn't I? But,
I love that.
Okay.
Oh,
I've got an even more one, a better one here, as in the person, because I've never heard the person. But loneliness is the poverty of self-solitude. Oh, sorry, no. Loneliness is the poverty of self. Solitude is richness of self.
Yes.
And that's May Sarton.
That's perfectly.
I don't know,
perfectly put.
But anyway, that's
I think we should leave it on that. I think.
Yeah, absolutely, because solitude can be really positive.
Yeah, and powerful.
Yeah, and that's how I like to see it.
Yeah, that's really good. I like that quote.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't think we've had any. No, we've got no questions or anything like that.
No comments. No one's watching today. It's Friday. Everyone's out at the pub.
Yeah, they can all watch it later.
At the virtual pub. Everyone's at the virtual pub.
Oh, we can go back to the pub as from the 2nd of December.
Yay!
Yeah. So, but you have to book a table and have a meal, or at least be in a pub that serves meals. So
okay.
But that's good. Right, we're off to see the wizard. Right, we're finished. We've done our thing.
Fantastic.
And have a fantastic weekend, everyone.
Yeah. You too, Paul. And everyone, have a safe weekend and have a weekend full of company, no matter whether that's face-to-face or virtual.
Go and buy some Christmas presents.
Go buy some friends.
See you later.
I'm joking. Have fun, everybody. Take care.
Ta-ra.